tell me about Dave Made a Maze. First, tell me how you found out about this movie.
I literally found this is one day while looking at Tubi for movies is to watch. I was like, I decided to click on. I knew I had watched the trailer before once on YouTube. I was like, oh yeah, this looked interesting. And so I clicked play, and I was like, wow, this is a lot of fun. It is such a unique film, and I love that about it. You don't find many films that truly feel unique these days.
So you basically like went to Google and typed in movies, and this came up, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I love it.
Like I looked at, I just was like, I search through Tubi a lot for to find random movies because they always have something ridiculous and different from anything else I've ever seen. So I'm like, versus like all the other streaming services, it feels like everything is very normal to watch.
Everything is very normal. It's in the category of normal. And this movie's available for free on YouTube, like in full, in HD. So how many times do you think you've seen it?
Probably like maybe 5 times, something like that at this point.
I mean, what is it about the movie? Is it the practical effects? Is it the tone? Is it the characters? Is it the themes?
The practical effects I think are cool, and and I think as it's super fun, fun tone to it. I found all the characters to be pretty likable. And just like as I said, like the big thing that draws me to this film is how unique it feels, and like this childlike wonder, or I think is a good way to say of how this film feels.
Yeah, and it definitely goes in directions you're not expecting. I thought for the first 10 minutes I was watching a certain movie. I'm glad I wasn't. I'm glad it went the directions it did ultimately go. But the more I thought about it, and again, from my very long intro, this guy is literally my age because in 2017 I turned 30 as well. And I know that there is a version of me, and we'll explain the movie. But I know that there is a version of me who like could have been sort of like aimless and, mostly unemployed and moving from like thing to thing and just feeling like adrift. And that like I could so easily have seen a version of myself dealing with that in this world that doesn't have many opportunities. And has, way fewer opportunities in the 8 years since. So I found so much going on in the background of this movie. I really liked the relationship between Dave and his girlfriend, Annie. I thought that there's really a lot there. And she was my favorite character in the movie. And also loved the maze. I mean, this movie's a triumph of production design, but the maze is like you can see it as like a metaphor for depression or just some sort of like depressive episode that ultimately guides you to something that kind of saves you because it is something that he realizes he's good at and then he can do with his friends. They can all work on it together. That's how they ultimately defeat the maze, is by working together. And then you can also see it as like for the filmmaker, for Bill Watterson, the guy who directed the movie, and the other filmmakers, it's like kind of almost this defense of practical effects against CGI, because the movie is saying like, this is literally cardboard that they're interacting with, but they take it very seriously. They feel like they're in real danger. And that says like, that is more powerful, I think, to a viewer than the most impressive, realistic looking CGI. That because you're watching the movie and you have to project a sort of like understanding onto the movie that I need to take this cardboard seriously, you like feel more of a connection with it than you would if they were going through a real maze with a real minotaur and like real stone and whatever. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I really liked this movie. I was very, very happy that, you brought me a movie that you said is one of your favorite and I didn't have to say, sorry, I didn't like it. That I had a great time with it. And I think that this is one of those movies that's like, because it's so, it's not widely known, that you can take pride in saying like, you got to check this movie out.
Yeah, and I love the idea that I can help push more people to see this, just so that I can support these filmmakers. I really hope that Bill Watterson makes more films, because I think he has such a unique vision for vision. So um as long as I can keep telling people watch this, I'm going to. I'm really glad you liked it. I expected you would, because you have been a big proponent of loving practical effects. And I was like, this is like one of the most practical effects heavy movies ever. So it seems like something you really
Yeah, but
appreciate.
they need to be in service of something bigger. Like, it's not like, if I there's tons of movies that I'd be like, I appreciate the practical effects, but this just doesn't grab me. But like I said, I think there's so much, like, I think there's lots of like the maze itself is so rich, both as, as a thing you're watching, but as a metaphor, and stuff going on in the movie, like the economic anxiety that Dave is feeling, like the identity crisis he's going through, feeling like inferior compared to his girlfriend. And it's interesting that the movie strips away like anything that can be a defect to his character, or not defect, like his problem is not that he doesn't have friends, because he does have friends and he has a relationship, and they seem like she it seems like they love each other and that they are happy together. The problem is that he is himself not happy, but it's not like he is a bad boyfriend otherwise. So it's like the movie is taking away all those things to just show like it is important. Like, human beings need meaningful work. It's like and I say meaningful, it's like we need to feel like we're important and we're doing something constructive and something that's helpful and something that we're doing with other people. We just have it as like these social animals. It's this thing that we crave. And even if because he says like his parents, he's 30 years old and his parents still give him money, and that embarrasses him. But he's like not in danger of being homeless or anything. He just literally has this struggle of not having anything to do with his time and what that does to a person. And I found that really touching.
Oh yeah. And, another thing in particular, and this is like kind of spoilers for the film, but I think is really cool is how since like the main theme of this film is how he can't finish anything, and I think it's so cool that they made the climax of the film. He has to actually create the thing that is the way out. It's not just already there for where they just have to find it. I love that he actually has to create it and finish it.
And the thing that makes him do that is now other people are involved now, and he's working with them and they're doing it together. And it's like, now I have a reason to actually finish this thing. And it's because I'm doing it with other people. And if you can read that as a metaphor for filmmaking, because filmmaking is a collaborative medium. It's something you do with lots of other people, even though, like, I know I'm guilty of talking about it and only talking about the director, but a person going off in their own head and not taking any input and not collaborating with anybody will just get up their own ass and just build like, hey, I built a maze within the maze and I accidentally built all these evil creatures that are going to eat us. Why'd you do that? I don't know. Because I was working by myself and driving myself insane.
Yeah.
And the meaning ultimately comes from him sharing his creation with his friends, and then it's something they can all do together. And then they defeat the maze.
Mm-hmm.
The movie, I think that Watterson, as a first-time director, I think it's really impressive that he's able to nail the tone, very specific tone of this is a comedy. There's danger. It doesn't feel that dangerous, but it's there. But it's not as broad a comedy. Like you like Community, the show Community, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And there are episodes of Community involving pillow forts and I could see this as an episode of Community, that Abed builds a maze and they all have to go into it. And there's the room where they get turned into puppets and everything.
Like, I could honestly see like the entirety of like this fitting in within the world of community. Like they have to go in and help Abed with some kind of emotional thing. That's why he's kept himself stuck in a maze.
Yeah. But I'm glad that like it's not copying the tone of Community. It's not like that sort of it's not that wacky. There is actual like ominous stuff happening in the movie, but also awe and whimsy.
Oh yeah.
So again, just very, very impressed that the first time filmmaker is able to do that with this cast, with this crazy practical set. Just a little bit more information about the movie. The movie stars Nick Thune as Dave, Meera, Rohit, Kumbhani as Annie, Adam Busch as Gordon, James Urbaniak, the great James Urbaniak as Harry. He was my favorite. He had me laughing throughout. I mean, he's always great, but he as the documentarian. Who's like, yeah, it's not enough that we're going through a maze. We also have to be making a documentary about the maze as we do it. Which is kind of, before we started recording, John and I were talking about how like all of life we just turn into content, like everything we do. Like, okay, but how can I turn this into something? That's going on in this movie.
Oh yeah.
Do you have, I think if I have a major criticism of the movie, it's not major. I'm not crazy about Nick Thune as Dave.
Oh.
What do you think?
I don't mind him as Dave. I don't think he was anything special, but I thought he worked for what was needed for the film.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the only thing that because for a while you're only hearing his voice, and maybe just the way he was reading the line sounded so disconnected from everything else. I know he is literally disconnected. He's lost in the maze and talking to people outside of the maze. Something about the performance didn't grab me, whereas I feel like everybody else was so perfectly on the wavelength of the movie. But that's really my only, like, I'm just so impressed with this movie. There's an animated opening, which is always going to make, my heart flutter. But before they get to the opening, to the animated opening, there is like, we start with like documentary interview of Dave. And I think this is really smart. We see him talking about the maze, and he says, and if 2 people died and that's my fault, then all I can say is I'm sorry. And I think that me not knowing anything about this movie other than like it's a funny movie about a maze, I was like, oh, okay, so there are stakes to this movie. People have died. And that's a good way to like just to calibrate people's expectations for what they're watching. It was very smart.
With like the people who died, I think my favorite joke of the film relates to that, and it's how at the end when the documentary is like, it tells the guy, you have to tell all of their families these people died. I'm like, how do you explain this to the people's families?
I'm always wondering that after movies, like where you have like an encounter with some sort of supernatural being and somebody dies. I'm like, I want the police interview after that, where you're like, okay, listen, there's a clown named Pennywise. He could take the form of my fears, and he killed 2 of my friends.
Just going up to someone and telling him, yeah, your son he died in a cardboard maze. No, we do not have his body. We have no idea where his body is. Yeah, that's everything I have to tell you.
Yeah, I think like, okay, so you think they actually are dead? That it's not?
Unless I don't know where they are if they're not.
Yeah, I don't know. They're somewhere. It's that Simpsons episode where Homer goes behind the bookshelf and ends up in the 3rd dimension. They're somewhere suspended in.
It would be funny if like if they had an after credits scene after the Minotaur walks away, and all of the rest of the people just come out of the garbage. I guess like they reveal it. I guess like they were just knocked out or something, and then and the rest of them just decided to throw their bodies in the dumpster.
Which is what I was expecting to happen. I was kind of delighted that the Minotaur came out. Kind of just a very, very dark way to end the movie. They've unleashed this evil on the world.
Like, this is not a film that needs a sequel, but I do kind of think it would be funny to have a sequel actually exploring those things of of the aftermath of all of this, as the Minotaur being out in the world, and and them having to figure out how do they explain these deaths. I think that could actually make for a fun film.
Yeah, this is for me. This is a the fewer questions the movie answers about how this works, the better. I don't want to know more. I like that we just have to accept he made this magical maze, and I like how quickly everybody gets with the program.
Something I always find very interesting is the idea of getting to see the aftermath of things, and that's something that movies don't usually show. So like, I want there to be movies that are just about the aftermath of things.
Yeah, I totally. Okay, yes, or a streaming series. Let's call a web series. I want the bureaucratic aftermath. I know that in Marvel Comics, there's what are they called? The damage control. The people who, after the Avengers kill all of New York City by accident, they come in and deal with the bodies.
Like, I just I think it's so interesting, the idea of like, you've just had this crazy as hell thing happen to you. How do you just go back to your life after that? And that's say if say a monster movie, and like, you're the only one who survives, as you're the final girl. Girl. I think it's really interesting to see that see them trying to integrate themselves back into society after dealing with something like that. Like, just how does that work?
Like Alice at the beginning of Friday the 13th Part 2, we catch up with her. She has not been able to move on. She's in her apartment. She's still tormented by the memories of Mrs. Voorhees. And then Jason comes and finds her.
I like the idea of just like having a complete a film that's completely about the aftermath of things. It is like it's not at all like all dealing with these with any kind of dangerous events anymore. It's just literally showing what their lives are like now afterwards.
I wrote a short story once that was a guy is like in the middle of breaking up with his girlfriend as a mummy attacks the city that they're in. Like a mummy from the movie The Mummy, like, has a big face in the sky and there's like a plague of locusts, and he's like, all he can really focus on is dealing with this relationship troubles that he's dealing with. He doesn't want to have to deal with the mummy. I've always been amused of like, a movie is happening over to the side. You're not going to see that. Yeah. You're only going to see parts of that movie like creeping in. And the story you're following is so much more boring and mundane than that.
Like, I kind of love that though. Oh, I think that's so interesting. Like the like within like superhero worlds and there's been one TV show that did this, but it was not received well, so it only got one season. But I love the idea of just like exploring the regular people's lives within a superhero world. And the show I'm talking about is called Powerless. But I think that's such an interesting concept of just what is what life like in this world from a regular person's perspective.
Yeah, I know. I remember talking to my mom one time, and I asked like, hey, what do you think it would be like? Like, how do you think the world would change if we found out aliens were real? Like, if we got like definitive proof that aliens were real? And she said to me, I thought we already like got that. And I was like, oh, okay. So your life wouldn't be changed at all because you think it already like, you can't even remember if it happened or not. So weirdly, I think that the human impulse to kind of snap back to normal, to like a reality you understand, is so powerful. That's why I think like if you lived in the world of the MCU, like you'd be aware of it, you'd acknowledge it, but you might just like ignore it and just live your life, not thinking about it very much.
Until a car falls on all.
Yeah.
You.
Then you have
like,
to.
Oh yeah, I forgot I was in a world with superheroes. Great.
Yeah, but think of all the crazy shit that actually happens in the world that we ignore or we forget about and move on from. There was a pandemic. The world shut down for 2 years. That was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, oh yeah, that was weird. Millions of people died. it probably totally disrupted your school career, right?
Well, not very much, because I've always been homeschooled my entire life, but for most people it would have.
What? You've been
Yeah,
homeschooled?
I was homeschooled my whole life.
That explains a lot. How is that?
That's why. That's a big reason why I'm a very antisocial person. And
Good. Good. The system works.
Okay.
Well, bad example then.
To anyone. I would not recommend homeschooling to anyone.
No, don't do that. But if your mom is listening, yeah, good. You did good. You raised a good man. You schooled a good man. But yeah, okay, bad example. But yeah, what were we talking about? So a Minotaur, the Minotaurs in the world. How would that change everything? I wanted to shout out the animated opening. The animation is by Musa Brooker, who, among other things, did the animation for the Christmas creatures in the movie Elf, and then by Kangmin Kim, who worked as an animator on the movie Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. So just there's a little delightful stop motion animated opening. I'd love to know how they did this. I think this is all practical, where you have little physical cutout figurines that you're just moving around.
Probably.
But it's sort of showing Dave in his apartment by himself going through his various interests. Like, he's playing the keyboard. He likes ant farming. He owns swords. So it's like, this is a guy who's like trying on a lot of different hats. Like, maybe if I started buying lots of samurai swords, that would make me happy. That's what my identity could be. Then, and we're not going to go through the plot, because so much of this movie is just like, it's visual. You need to check it out, but we'll try to explain the plot and just various things that really stuck out to me. So the movie opens proper with Annie, the girlfriend character, coming in, and there's just a giant cardboard, kind of impressive in that it's big, but still like clumsy and awkward looking cardboard maze. Well, you couldn't even tell it's a maze if you looked at it from the outside. Oh, no. And I love how she plays this. She is like, however long she's been away from her boyfriend, she assumes he's going to be happy to greet her. Hey, let's go have some fun sex. No, he's in a fucking fort that he built like a baby. And she's like, hello? And he's like, oh, hey, babe. Yeah. Look, check out what I did. And she like immediately says like, have you been working on this all weekend? And you can kind of hear the not condescension, just like Jesus Christ, this is what you've been doing since I've been gone. Is this project? I love she is playing this like she loves this guy and is concerned he is maybe having a nervous breakdown, and also she's so annoyed at what a giant mess he has made, and that of all the new hobbies he could have found, it's not I'm going to try to play a new instrument, it's I'm going to build a giant cardboard fort and refuse to come out.
Yep.
Do you think, what do you think of it? Do you think their relationship is good? Does it seem like maybe it's on the fritz? I was wondering the second time I watched the movie, is she maybe playing this like, this is maybe one thing too far and we got to have a serious conversation?
I think they've definitely had problems in their relationship. And I think they were alluding to that with the scene where Dave and her are just are sitting at their kitchen table, going through the motions.
I love that scene. That scene is that's the best scene in the movie to me. It's so creative. We'll get to it, but yeah, it's showing.
But I think that what they're trying to show there is that they have had problems in the past, and they do love each other though.
Yeah, and the tension isn't coming through like anything either of them is doing wrong. It's just like, this is building, like he is so bored. He doesn't have a job to go to. She does. And he feels awkward about that. Feels like maybe he doesn't have anything new to tell her when she comes home in the evening. Maybe he's thinking of going back to sleep when she leaves for work, but he's embarrassed about that. That sort of resentment can just build over time. But that's why, like, in a version of like a Dave who lived in the year 1993, like presumably this guy went to college, he got a degree, and there was a time when you could expect to just like, oh, okay, I just went and got a job. And now I have like a well-paying job that I feel reasonably good about. And now my whole life is laid out before me. But things have degraded so much from there that, you know, you go to college and what you end up doing is only racking up tons of student debt. And then you have no actual path to a job, to it, let alone a good job that can give you the middle-class life that your parents got. And he feels like he has done something wrong because his girlfriend was able to do that. And he compares himself to her. Like, she's able to make it work. Why am I not able to make it work? But she's like, I think that she does a really good job because this could easily be like the killjoy wife or girlfriend character. And she's not playing it like that at all. She's playing it as like, she's fun and concerned for him, but this isn't like, Dave, you and your maze. I told you not to build a maze.
I think also though, and this isn't something like they very explicitly told us, but I feel like they kind of were hinting towards it with how she was acting at first. Is I'm guessing that the trip that she was on over the weekend and did not go well, so she wasn't super happy already when she got into the house.
Yeah, especially that he doesn't ask about it. I mean, he said, "How was your trip?" But it's like he's just doing it out of obligation. And if she wanted to talk to him about it, she's like, "Well, I can't do that because he's literally behind a cardboard wall and he's not coming out." So she's like, and then she just like takes out her yoga mat, like she's just moving on with her life now, and they're just going to live these parallel lives. I thought at this point in the movie, like first 10 minutes, I was wondering, is the whole movie going to be more and more people come into the apartment and ask questions about the maze and we never see, and then maybe like the last minute of the movie, we see like, oh, he's telling the truth. It is a big, wonderful maze. It's not that. I'm grateful it's not that. But I thought that it could be. It would be like, has he had a mental breakdown? And his friends, when they get called in and they're like, oh, I thought you were going to tell me he killed himself in the closet with a bag over his head. So like they also think something terrible. He's going to do something terrible to himself.
Which is absolutely crazy that was their first thought. Even if someone does think that like their friend is suicidal, I would not tell his girlfriend. I thought you were going to tell me that he's dead.
Yeah, it's a little callous, but I think that he, especially I think Gordon he's kind of like he's kind of on the same wavelength as Dave, but maybe able to function in society like 10% more. So like, cause they have their like fun little greeting with each other, like who has the beard or whatever. But then he can like actually turn to Annie and be like, so how are you doing? Are you okay? And like act like a grown up. So he has this sort of ability to treat everything like it's a joke. Well, they call in lots of other people.
Yeah. Insanity ensues.
It does. You got Harry, James Urbaniak. He's the documentarian. He has his boom mic operator and his cameraman. I don't remember their names. I don't think they speak in the movie, but they're always there and funny.
They do speak a few times. I do know, particularly the camera operator. When he dies, he says, "As you fuck my wife." Yeah, that's okay. Yes, I forgot about that. But I don't know if they actually did give them names or names. I think they just called them Operator 1 and 2 or something.
I forgot to say this about the opening scene. You know, we see the talking head footage of Dave explaining like, well, if I'm responsible for the death of 2 people. So we see that. And then later in the movie, we see when they actually film that and it's played for a joke. And I love that. I love that the exact same scene you can see it two ways, and you can read it in two entirely different tones. And you have the like he just casually calls boom because the boom mic gets in the camera frame, and we see that in the opening of the movie, and it's like, oh, that was weird. But then we see he's always getting the boom in the way of the camera lens. My favorite line of the movie is like, so they're bringing lots of other people in, some more of their friends. There's some Flemish tourists and also a hobo from the street who said he knew mazes. And he said, I said I knew cardboard. I don't know. Yeah. That tickled me.
I love the hobo. This. He's one of the funniest characters, I think, to me, even though he doesn't do much.
Well, yeah, they all go into the maze and then he's like, okay. And he just goes right to the fridge.
Oh, yeah. He's like, I'll be right there. I'll be right there.
But it's like, okay, so Annie, they can talk to him and he just explains like, it's much bigger in here. It's not as simple as I don't know the way out. And they're like, well, we'll just lift up the maze and you can come out. And he's like, no, that's not how it works. And they all kind of just have to accept that he's not going to let them do that. And so, yeah, I really think at this point, they're just convinced he's having a mental episode. This is like somebody locking themselves in the bathroom and refusing to come out. But because they're all kind of assholes, they're treating it like it's a fun party. But we eventually, like 10 minutes into the movie, we see a brief shot inside the maze and see actually it is big. Although you could read that as like we're just seeing inside Dave's mind that to him it's a real maze. But no, Annie there's like a fun like mission prep montage of Annie's like I'm going inside, and she gets lots of her tools like an X-Acto knife and like some scotch tape, and then everyone goes in. And this is I meant to write down the production designer's name, but this is some absolutely incredible production design. They filmed this all in a warehouse. This is all practical, all cardboard, decorated to the nines. And they are all very impressed with Dave and his production design skills. And they're like, this must have taken hours. It's like, this would have taken like 5 years.
Oh yeah, it's just so cool. Oh, how everything looks in this I love how like they even replaced blood with red paper. Like it's everything is so deliberate, and I love it.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, and all stuff that he would have had on hand in the apartment. So like decorate the wall with the box that his piano keyboard came in. And she has that line. She's like, at least he's using the box of the keyboard that I bought him. Everybody like Dave eventually decides they're going to learn to play keyboard, and it never works out. It's hard to learn to play keyboard. It's hard to learn to play any instrument when you're an adult. That's why you got to do it when you're a kid. I've certainly tried teaching myself how to play piano for real a million times as an adult. I'll get into it for a month and then be like, screw this. My friend Wade, who is the best musician I know, he's the only person who was able to do it. And the way he did it was, and he's not a religious person. He joined a church band that forced him to play the piano every week. And he's like, I don't believe in God, but this is the only way I'm going to learn piano. Like it forces me to learn the songs and like be up in front of an audience and do it with other people and do it, every week for a long time. It's like, that's actually, that's the problem for a depressed person like Dave, is like, that's the actual amount of dedication to a thing, to a skill, or to a hobby that it's going to take. It's going to take like commitment over a long period of time. Mm-hmm. And he can't gather that. But the keyboard appears to have been blown up in size and made into a wall, and they all can like walk into the keyboard wall. And this is when they start to get really impressed. They're like, oh, wow. Ooh, Dave's really good at this.
I think that we're supposed to believe that they got shrunk maybe somehow out going in. And I think like later when we see like stuff on like that's already been recorded on a screen, and I think that's supposed to be like a smartphone. So I think what we're supposed to believe is that that somehow the maze was able to shrink everybody.
Well, I like that at no point does anybody say, "Oh, we must have gotten small."
Yeah.
And people turning super tiny, that's one of my favorite things to see in a movie. So no wonder I liked this movie so much. So they enter a room with a big temple man head.
Yep.
And because Dave is my own age, I realized, he must have watched Legends of the Hidden Temple when he was a kid on Nickelodeon. That's what he was recreating. You familiar with this show at all, John?
I never watched it, but I've heard of it. Yeah.
Okay. To people my age, this guy's like, one of the most important pop cultural icons is this big talking icon or idol, whatever it's called. It's interesting that he is not going down like an intellectual property, like nostalgia wormhole. Like he's not creating a maze with all of his favorite characters. It's not Ready Player One.
Mm-hmm.
Where I feel like a bigger budget movie would have done that, or maybe just a movie that was, maybe this movie was written well before 2017. There's no internet. Like there's not like he spends all his time like on message boards or watching YouTube videos. He's always trying to do stuff. I think it's interesting that he's not like literally trying to recreate the pop culture that he loves.
Oh yeah. And I think that's, and no, I do like references to stuff off when I'm watching movies. Is I do think it is cool when you see a film where they don't really have any references to anything else, because it does give it a timeless quality where you can where 50 years from now they can still watch this, people can still watch this and understand it.
Yeah, exactly. He's
like I remember or like there have been times while I've watched the 70s Hulk TV show for my on my podcast, and there'll be references in there that because I wasn't alive in the 70s, I'm like, I have no idea what the hell he's talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you ever try to watch a British TV show? You won't understand any damn thing they're trying to talk about. There are origami pieces everywhere. So presumably at some point he went through an origami phase and he got really good at it. He can make really impressive origami. There's origami pieces everywhere.
He even has figured out how to make his origami fly.
Yeah. He's a really impressive guy, honestly. So now James Urbaniak wants to make the documentary. They're like, okay, Annie, sit down. You're going through the maze. How is this making you feel? And I always like that she has a little bit of patience for it, but not that much. My favorite moment was when he's like, Annie, more childlike wonder. And she's like, oh. But then, okay, there's a room. We get our first gruesome death. How does this come about? I think the character Jane gets her neck slit.
Yeah, so she walks into the room, if I remember right. There's like a pressure plate on the floor, and or that she steps on, and she's like, "How did none of you step on this? At any point, there's been like 50 people going through here. No one else stepped on this." And then she has her head cut off.
Yeah, cut off. But what you think is at first blood is, what are these ribbons? Are these at one point Annie's like, oh, you used my good yarn, which I love. I love that she has yarn and she also has her good yarn. That's how she distinguishes. But yeah, the blood and stuff the real things are happening, but they're being depicted with objects you could just find in the house. And that's when I started thinking like, okay, this is at least a meta commentary on practical effects versus CGI. Because you can use CGI blood and it will look like real blood, but it doesn't feel the same as when you get a good old squib, a blood pack squirting from somebody's chest. And it looks too red, but I don't know. It feels more real.
I like when it looks too red. It kind of looks fake, but it's so over the top, and I love that about it.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, because I just watched a bunch of Paul Verhoeven movies. That was a big thing to him, is the blood needs to be redder than real blood. I mean, for one thing, people don't see real blood all the time. They think it's redder than it actually is. But when you see it on screen, it just needs to. What's important is the way it makes you feel, and it should feel upsetting and visceral, and that's why you need to make it more extreme.
Like, I like the idea of blood that it doesn't look too real, because like I don't want it to. I don't want when I'm watching something to actually feel like disturbed, disturbed by what I'm watching. So like having very over the top, fake looking gore is like my favorite thing for horror movies.
Yeah, it's like CGI horror. There's not a lot of CGI horror that I find scary versus something that you can look at and tell is fake, but it's an actor touching a real prop, and that will just feel more real to you. And also, I just think there's like a if you go see a play, you know that you're not like, and you look at the set, you're like, okay, I know I'm seeing Romeo and Juliet. I know I'm not actually looking at Verona, Italy, but my mind can do the work. And like, I'm gonna suspend the disbelief and project onto it a little bit. And I think that CGI like takes that out of the viewer's head. Like the viewer should do a little bit of work to project some imagination on the movie.
And I actually think that with bad CGI, or what people consider bad CGI, I think people these days get way too taken out of the movie by it. Because I'm like, growing up, we had for digital effects, say like you have a ghost in a movie, you can tell it's just pasted over the picture, or in movies from like 20 years ago and further back, and you never feel like you're taken out of the film.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason nowadays, with bad CGI, people are always like, oh, it's taking me out of the film. I'm like, how is it? Can you not suspend your disbelief with bad CGI? We know that the film is fake.
And it's like you can watch movies from the late 90s that use CGI, and it is kind of aging in a charming way, where you're like, oh, the CGI in this, it looks so bad, but it's charming. And I suspect, one day people will have the sort of reverence that I have for practical effects for the bad CGI. For me, it is.
I'm not like trying to call anybody out specifically. I just it's like don't understand people like feeling like they're been taken out of a film from bad CGI. I'm like, when I have seen all these films from like the 90s, they have bad CGI, and I never was taken out of it.
Yeah, no, it's there's certainly a double standard that people will use and just assume any CGI is bad. And I'm sure I've said that. I think that for me, any practical effect, I will inherently prefer it, because I know that it was on set with the actor, that they were interacting with it. But if you're talking about something like an optical effect, like, there's tons of stuff in the 1977 Star Wars that was not there on set that they added afterward through optical effects.
Yeah, like you can tell it's fake, but I don't think that takes you out of it. I think being able to tell that things are fake in a movie really does add to its charm.
It's like it's case dependent. And if it's like, what I resent is a movie where I can tell that the director was not involved with the CGI, and that the studio, depending on the level of budget for the movie, cheaped out on the CGI. Like this new Jurassic World movie seems like the visual effects are not very impressive, and I'm already like annoyed at that, because I remember hearing that movie started production a year ago, we recorded our Jurassic Park episode last summer, and the day we recorded was the day they started shooting that movie. And I remember thinking, that is not enough time. You do not have enough time to film this movie and then add all the visual effects. That says to me that you're doing like, assembly line, crappy visual effects. That's what I resent, is if I can feel that it's the studio cheaping out. And then there's the forced perspective room. And people, please check out this movie. Again, this movie's 80 minutes long. You can watch it on YouTube. This is like a remarkable visual achievement just in the shot composition, the way everything in the frame is not in the dimensions you think it is once they end up interacting with it. I can't describe it any better way than that.
Have you ever watched the YouTube channel Corridor Crew?
Yeah.
I feel like it would be so interesting to see them react to this film. I think they would have a lot of fun dissecting this.
Do they do practical effects?
They watch scenes that are both CGI scenes and ones that are not, and they try to determine whether things are real or fake in the videos. And I always find it super interesting in watching them, and they've done on episodes where they've even looked at effects as far back as the 1920s. It's always so cool as they try to figure out how these things were done.
Yeah, that is a good channel. I've watched lots of videos from them. They're VFX artists themselves, and they watch and dissect VFX and CGI in movies. And it's a good way for me, who's shitting on VFX, to be like, these are talented artists, and so much work goes into them. And it definitely helps me appreciate it more.
I think that you would particularly enjoy the episodes where they've had Adam Savage from Mythbusters on as a guest, because he just like you is a very big proponent of practical effects.
I will check it out. Then they go into the puppets room where they all get turned into puppets. But very, very handmade puppets, cardboard and stuff. This is when it gets the most Community, because there's a little puppets episode of Community. Yeah. Lacey, who is I don't think I've mentioned her, not on this episode. Sorry, she's off on assignment.
You wouldn't be able to tell. It definitely sounds like she's been here the whole time.
She just hasn't had anything to say yet. It's very unusual for her. Whenever we watch Community, she makes me skip any episode that like involves them turning into puppets or turning into to stop motion Christmas creatures. Anything that breaks she can't even watch Treehouse of Horror Simpsons episodes. She wants her show to be exactly what she expects it to be. So I think she would like this movie though, but that just reminded me. What makes this work is how everybody's pretty nonplussed by this, that they get turned into puppets.
Oh yeah, I love the little moment at the end of the puppet sequence when the Minotaur he starts out as a puppet, but then the Minotaur decides, nope, I'm not gonna be a puppet anymore, or it just goes back to being the normal Minotaur.
This is where we meet the Minotaur.
I think it was a little bit before this that we met the Minotaur, but yeah, there was definitely a Minotaur in this scene, and he was in puppet form, and then he goes down beyond under the screen, and then comes back up as just the normal Minotaur.
Your maze has to have a Minotaur, or your labyrinth has to have a Minotaur. I like that. As I don't remember when it is, but they're like, "Why did you create booby traps and stuff?" And he's like, "I don't know. At a certain point, it just took on a life of its own." That's why guys, when you're working on your projects, you need collaborators. You need people to tell you whether an idea is good or not. I may have written a very long introduction to this episode that I thought was funny, but once I read it out loud, this is going on way too long. This is why I need a Lacey in the room with me to be like, let's end this, Matt. There's the movie theater room that you said is probably just an iPhone.
Yeah, that's what I'm guessing is what it's supposed to be, but
where they're watching their own movies that they have made, which is just kind of lovely. And then there's that whole vagina thing. What do we think is up with the big vagina monster?
Well, he said that he made it for I think it was Gordon or his best friend and to which is Gordon responded like, oh, I get tons of women, I tons of women, but then later in the film he goes back to it.
So he made it for him to like instruct him. Here's what you got to do.
Maybe okay. I don't know.
That's what this. So this, I was like, is this his fear? Is this Dave's fear of sex? Is this his fear of intimacy with his girlfriend? Is their sex life suffering? Is he not able to bring her to orgasm? These are questions I was asking. Is this why this room?
Why does sticking your hand in it turn it into cardboard?
Yes. That only happens sometimes, I can say from experience. So again, this movie's hard to describe because it is so visual. And that's why, again, I implore everybody to watch it. But one of my favorite parts is where they make it into a room that has its own maze. Like, you made a maze within a maze. Like, yeah. So the only thing we can do is go through this smaller maze within the bigger maze.
Yep.
And the thing that happens to one of the women characters, where she gets turned into sort of a marionette. Can you sort of explain what is happening to her?
I'm not honestly sure if it's actually meant to be her or if it's supposed to actually be a sign that Dave made or what. It's so weird.
She just keeps asking for a high five. And at a certain point, she's asked why. And she says, I wish I'd written it down. Because high fives is what man does.
Yeah.
That's what makes a human, is we give high fives. There is the scene where we break away and we have sort of a flashback, and it looks like it's just a normal like morning conversation between Dave and Annie, drinking coffee together in the morning, but it keeps cutting. They keep playing back the same conversation where they're changing clothes, but then changing into like very obvious costumes. Like she's dressed as like a princess or something at one point. He's dressed as a painter. And then the literal set they're sitting in becomes more and more artificial and eventually gets made of cardboard itself. And I thought this is just a really incredible scene to just show like the absent, meaningful things to do, meaningful things, things that give us satisfaction, that make us feel fulfilled, that make us feel like we're worth something, that life can just start to feel like you're on an endless loop. It's the same thing after the same thing, and it starts to feel less and less real. And so this is visualized by his life literally becoming artificial. I thought it was a really, really great scene.
Oh yeah, definitely. This seems it's so I think it is very deep, but also just again, just like with the rest of the film, the visuals of this are so cool. With this scene,
and they're playing it really well, especially her. And again, she's never like, her resentment of him is never like, you got to get a job. It's her. Mm-hmm. She is playing it like, you are just going through a sort of emotional crisis, and I need you to get better because I need you to get better for you, for your own sake. She's never acts like selfishly. This could have been an easy like girlfriend character who's only defined by her relationship with the main character of the movie. And she is not that. She is going on her own journey here. And finally, they realize the way they're going to get out of this maze is to team up to defeat it. And they do. They get out of the maze. And one of the best visual gags is the maze you see the apartment. The maze in the apartment has totally collapsed. It's just cardboard lying on the floor. And then the actors literally come up from beneath the cardboard, presumably from like a trap door underneath the set. But it's great. It rules. And they're just like, okay. Reality is not what I understood it to be, but something.
Yeah. And then we have the documentary guy going to Gordon and saying, you have to go tell the families. And he
says it with such authority. He's just like, I guess I do. Wait, why do I have to?
Yeah, he's like, wait, what? Huh?
Well, and I love how quickly they all just start without saying anything, because none of them like say like, what the fuck just happened? They all just start picking it up and cleaning it up. It's like that urge to just snap back to reality as we understand it. All right. Final thoughts and star ratings. I think that there's a ton going on in this movie beyond it being a triumph of production design and imagination, and impressive for a first-time filmmaker handling all of this, getting some really solid actors, really a big cast. And again, working with this giant set, it's all super, super impressive, especially for a first-time filmmaker. But more than that, I was struck by how much I think is going on with the themes of this movie, with the need for meaningful work, with sort of crisis of being alone, with your thoughts all day, not sure what to do with yourself, and how much you need to be with other people you love and do something together. In the end, the thing that helps them get out is they all work together, basically by treating it like an escape room. And this movie made me realize maybe I should go to an escape room. I've always thought I don't want to go to an escape room. That seems like it sucks. But maybe it would be fun because I'd be doing it with people I love and we're doing something together. I've
done it once with my brother, and I enjoyed myself a lot, even though we did not make it out in time. But I did enjoy myself a lot. I think, I love puzzle solving, so it doesn't surprise me that I enjoyed myself, and also just getting to hang out with my brother. I think you and Lazy doing a escape room together, or you guys would probably really enjoy it. But also, if somehow you were able to get a escape room place to let you film in there, it would be hilarious to watch.
When I say I don't want to do an escape room, what I really mean is I don't want to do one with Lacey because I think she'll be mean to me because I'm not good at solving puzzles, and she's very competitive.
I can imagine that she would be very competitive. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that, but yeah, again, if we can turn it into content, then we're going to have to do that anyway.
Hilarious. Aries. I feel like you guys would have a lot of fun with turning it into content.
Okay. If we get to a certain Patreon goal, we'll do that. So make it happen, everybody. I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 stars. I'm just really, like, more than anything, just grateful that it exists, and grateful to you, John, for bringing it to my attention. What would you rate this movie?
I rated 5 out of 5 stars. I'm not someone who's very critical of films, so it's probably not very surprising that I would rate it so high. But I really enjoy this film, and I want more super unique films like this.
And like, let him make another movie. Bill Watterson, he's not the Bill Watterson who created Calvin and Hobbes. He's a different Bill Watterson. That hurts his SEO. But like, for all the indie filmmakers who get bumped up to get to make a Marvel movie or get to make Twisters or whatever, I think you should be looking for filmmakers who have the visual eye. That more than anything is what you need, and what you need to succeed at that higher level. It'd be great to see what he could do with a real budget. But again, I'm so impressed with what he was able to do. You can feel how personal it feels to him, but also feel like making movies is a collaborative thing. It involves tons and tons of people. And the interviews I read 2 interviews with him. He talked so much about that, is how it's a team effort, all the different departments working their asses off to make this thing that in the end didn't make any money, but it's like, it exists, it's beautiful, and people love it. And that's why you do things. They're beautiful for their own sake.